Black women, when I am in community with my brothers. So any opportunity that I get, when Talia calls, I show up. I love to be here. I love that you guys come and support her, because I think this is an amazing opportunity for those of us that are entrepreneurs to get the visibility of our brands out there, and for us to really see that we are movers and shakers, and that we are really going to be the backbones of our business. One thing about me, I know who helps my business grow. I know who my consumer is, and it is you. So I thank you guys so much.
Can you all hear me? Okay, there we go. Hello, everyone. Hello. How y'all doing? So I just share Yandy's sentiments that I love Black people. So whenever Black folks call me, I do everything possible to be with us. Because if not us, then who? And if not now, then when? And if we don't support one another, we certainly can't expect other people outside of our communities to support us. And so this event was important to me, one, just because they said Black women were going to be somewhere, and I was like, well, that's where I need to be. But also because my dear sister and friend invited me and introduced me to Talia, who I did not know before we spoke on the phone. We talked for about 2 hours in a car. Maybe it was less time. Look how Black folks exaggerate. But we talked for a while one day. We talked about politics, relationships, family. It was our first time speaking, and I committed right then to be here, and I'm just so glad that you all invited me to have me be a part of this event. And I also am excited to share something that is very different with you all, because if you listen to my bio, you hear so much about the work that I've done, from Breonna Taylor to the Women's March to the George Floyd protest, and a lot of other important moments that I've been involved in. And I would have to say that I wasn't just involved. I've been one of the leaders on the ground for almost 30 years of my life, especially for the last 20 years. And that's important. That work is the foundation of who I am. But there is still a human side to my story. And this book is not so much about the movement. It's about a young girl who grew up in the projects. Like everybody else, I grew up the same. And how I made it from that point all the way to where it is that I am today is only by the grace of God. And I felt like it was time for me to put it on these pages so that you all can have something, especially to share with younger people in your family and your friends who need a guide for themselves to be able to push through and persevere through a lot of drama that I have experienced in my life.
Thank you for that, Queen. Thank you so much. So this question, tell them about, I have your book, The State of Emergency. Okay, she said the first one.
Yes, my first book.
Yes. So, with the state of emergency, what specific events of your life that you experienced that prompted you to write that book? How we win in the country that we built.
Yeah, so my first book, State of Emergency, really came from me being in Minneapolis when George Floyd was killed. And I was supposed to give a speech that I'd written out exactly what I wanted to say. You know, I was prepared to go before a press court and speak. I was alongside Jamie Foxx and a number of other very high-profile individuals. And of course, I'm prepared, right? Because, you know, you can't be up there speaking off the top of your head when you have to talk in such an important place. And we knew that every single camera in America was going to be there, and across the world, everybody, BBC London, you name it, the news people were there. When I went to bed, and this was the next day after George Floyd was killed, when I went to bed that night, and in fact, we drove, my crew, and Until Freedom, we drove from Kentucky, where we were with Breonna Taylor's family. It was the first time that I met them. Now, Breonna Taylor was killed in March, but her story does not become really public until after George Floyd was killed in May. And so this was our first time going to be with Breonna Taylor's family. Benjamin Crump, the lawyer and attorney that you all see on TV with a lot of families, he called and asked the circumstances behind her death, we learned that George Floyd had been killed. And instead of us going back to New York, which is where we were supposed to be going, we got in the car and drove over 10 hours to get to Minneapolis to be there with that community. And so as I said, I was prepared to give this speech. I knew what I was going to say. And when I went to bed at night, it was so sad in the media what happened to this man, George Floyd. But by 5 a.m. when I woke up, and mind you, the city was burning. It was burning. This was not a normal protest day. The entire city of Minneapolis was on fire somewhere or another. It was crazy. The police were out in riot gear. We barely made it to our hotel. I laid down and I went to sleep listening to this sad story about who this man is. Well, really they didn't know who he was, but they were saying a man was killed, the foot of it, the knee in his neck, and they were all sympathetic to George Floyd, maybe around 1 a.m. By 5 a.m. when I woke up, they had found George Floyd's background, and they were talking about, the story shifted. He became a villain, that he had been in trouble, that he had drugs in his system, that he used a counterfeit bill, and a whole bunch of stuff that they started saying about him. So when I woke up and I began to see, I knew what they were doing. The media was attempting to cover this officer and shift the story onto George Floyd, and they do this all the time. Well, that little piece of paper that I had with the prepared notes, I took it and threw it down on the side and walked out the door and said, today I'm going to speak from my heart. And when I went before that, in that press conference, I spoke from passion. I didn't worry about who was going to be mad at me. I told them I don't care if they burn everything down, including Target. Didn't matter to me. People should be out here with us fighting in these streets. And when I said it, my people on my team was looking like, oh my God. I wanted to say, oh Lord. But I went completely viral all over the world. I started speaking that day with 220,000 people as followers. And when I finished, there was over 1 million people that followed me in just that short amount of time. And so my book, State of Emergency, is basically me having to cover my behind and explain what I meant when I said, burn it down. And the book is all about the movement. This book is different, but that book is about the movement.
And for those of you who don't know, give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up. I was flown in, I come from Minneapolis, so I was actually there. Everything she's saying is absolutely true because we saw it on the news day after day, all day. So what she's saying is absolutely true. So, Miss Yandy, tell us, when you decided to go from music, how was that pivotal going into the hair care products? How was that pivotal for you, and why did you do it?
So before I jump there, I'll just talk really briefly about our relationship, and then I'll get to that question as well. So Tamika and I met probably almost 10 years ago now. When she drove to Minneapolis from Kentucky, I remember we were on the phone. First you were on live. You were on live. And what I remember seeing was she was talking on live, and all of a sudden there was smoke everywhere. And then she's like, I need milk, we need milk, we need milk. Now imagine, as a best friend, you talking, you see her on live, you find out what's going on. I see the craziness happening before my eyes. And then the phone goes, and then I see smoke, and I hear her saying, give me milk, give me milk, give me milk. And I remember calling like, what is going on? A lot of times when you hear stories, or even when you read stories, you don't understand the intensity of what is happening in everyday lives that affect you today, right? Imagine if you were around when Harriet Tubman was walking the street. Imagine if you were around when Sojourner Truth was walking the street. A lot of times we take for granted the people that we have that are fighting every day, day in, day out. This is her 9 to 5. Her 9 to 5 was going down that day to Minneapolis, getting ahead of what was happening and making sure that officer was prosecuted and arrested. In the midst of doing that, it was putting her life in danger to do it, right? Not about her son in that moment, not about the person she loves. It was about making sure that this officer that violated a black man would one that I want to know because I felt like in this space, as many of you may feel, we don't know how to get into activism. We don't know how to get into social justice work. We know that we want to do something. We know that we want to protect our children. We know that we want to have equal rights at our jobs. We know that we want to wear our hair natural if we want to wear dreads or curly or fro or whatever. And we don't want anybody to tell us what we can and can't do. Am I right?
Yes.
People like her fight for them. So I knew that in that moment, I had a platform. She might have had 200-something thousand followers. I think back then I might have 4 million followers. And I was like, I need to amplify the voice that she has. And that was my initial reason for building a relationship with her because I knew that what she talked about was important. So in music that I was in where I started and then went into TV and film, I never wanted to be a music artist. I like being behind the scenes and I like seeing my creation come to work and I really didn't want to be a TV star. What I liked again was I liked being able to provide opportunities for Black people. When I started Love and Hip Hop, it was supposed to give a voice to women who were behind the scenes in music. So it's kind of the same kind of thing where I just wanted to give voices to sometimes the speechless, give voices to those that are muted sometimes, and give voices to those who are marginalized. So that has been the transition for me. I don't know why they thought I needed to be in front of the camera, but somebody thought I needed to be in front of the camera.
Because you're cute, you're beautiful, you're cute.
Well, thank you, but I ended up in front of the camera for way too long. It's been 15 years that I've been in front of the camera. I'm ready to get off the camera. But yeah, so then it's kind of the same thing, how we got close, and then also even my role in TV. I just wanted to give voices to those that are marginalized and voices to those that have something to say. And what I realized was I was one of those people as well.
Thank you for that. Let's give her yes, yes, yes. So I'm gonna go back to you, Miss Tamika D. Mallory. I like to use the whole brand, if that's okay. And with State of Emergency, how did it connect with your current theme of your second book? Is that correct? Yes, I Live to Tell the Story. How did that connect with the first book and the second book?
So I think in my first book, I talk a lot about my theory of change for America. And so that book is interesting because it's been selling a lot lately, you know, from when we first published it.